Today we're talking with Tricia. She's a working mother who, along with her husband, decided that travel was in their future. So they sold their home, packed up in an RV with their 2 daughters, and hit the road. Since then, they have traveled over 50,000 miles, written a best-selling book, and grown together as a family. I know you're going to fall in love with Tricia just as much as I have. Here's her story. Tricia, thank you for being on the podcast today. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here today with the Bold Exploration family. And let me tell you why. Because one day, we have a mutual friend, Sarah Tyler, okay? And one day I was scrolling through Facebook and your face comes across my Facebook. And your smile was so brilliant, so big. You had just such a strong presence about you of just joy. And it made, I stopped. I was like, who is this happy lady? Right? Like, who is she? And so I started really, I'm like, oh, she's written a book and Sarah's helped. And I was like, this is awesome. And so I keep looking more. And every time I'd come across and, followed over to your profile, right? Who's this happy lady? I like a dose of happy in my everyday life, right? So I go over to your Facebook page and I'm just like post after post after post of like just joyfulness. And I just felt that so strongly about you. I was like, this is happiness, right? This is happiness. Now, I kind of knew that you traveled, right? Because I knew the book, Worldschoolers, which we'll talk about at the end of today. I was like, okay, so they traveled, all right? And then I started reading more, and your life has fascinated me. And I was like, I have to have her on the podcast. I have to find out more about this wonderful lady and her family, okay? So that's about me, how I found you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all those kind words. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. You deserve them. So I just want to give you a chance to tell your story. So I'm going to shut up for a while. And I want you to tell us about you. I know you've had an amazing career. And now y'all took on this new family culture and dynamic, and you changed the way you educate your children, and you've made all these changes in your life that are hard hurdles for a lot of people to do it. And y'all did it, and y'all walked that path bravely. So I want you to share your story.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share our story. It's really a prideful moment for me to be able to share our story. I'm very excited to be here. And you're right, at home, this was less than 2 years ago. We, myself, Tricia, and my husband, Daniel, and our 2 girls, Caitlin and Addison, they are currently 9 and 11, and our dog, her name is Belle. And we were all living in a 1,000 square foot house. It was actually my dad's house before we moved in. It was a very special house. And go to work, take the girls to dance class. We were dropping them off in public school. And then we just kept having this inkling of we could do more. We could do more with life. And I started reading homeschool books. Oh, I read all of the how-to homeschools, how to homeschool. And what kept coming across in every book I must have read, probably a dozen books, and they all said something different. There was no clear answer of how to homeschool. And honestly, I just took it under my little wing and I winged it. And we did homeschooling in our house for almost a year. It was about the 9-month mark. And our kids just totally blew us away. We were learning about ancient civilizations. We watched Hercules. We were learning about the ancient Greeks, and we were watching Hercules. And I just remember this moment where they were saying on Hercules, call 911, but it was in the Roman numerals. And I remember our kids, they're just mouths because they had remembered something we were learning in homeschool, but now watching it on Hercules on a Disney movie, 911 in Roman numerals. And so I just knew we're doing this right. We are doing something right here. So this goes on for like 9 months. We're homeschooling. We are loving homeschool. We've always been a really close family. Living in 1,000 square feet is not a whole big old house. So we're always very tight, and we had chickens and we had all kinds of fun things we were doing at the house. And then one day I was at work. I came home from work. I'm a nurse. I worked in the ICU for 14 years. I worked as an ICU nurse, all in Jacksonville in Florida. That was our hometown. And I came home after work one night. I don't even know what I was thinking, but I sat Daniel down and I said, listen, what do you think about, what if we sold our house and we just bought an RV and we homeschool, but we don't do it at home. We do it in the RV and we just go to all these different places. He looked at me like I was crazy. I mean, just crazy. Who does that? Who comes home as a stable person who's been a nurse, has a career, who's doing this homeschool and it's successful, and just says, why don't we just sell the house and we'll just buy an RV? Why don't we just do that? And he was really supportive of the idea. We had a very wholehearted conversation about it. We had a conversation with the girls about it. We really wanted their opinion because we were leaving our hometown at that point. We've already left their school and we started homeschooling, and now we would go to all these other places. And what would that be like? So I think the question was the answer, because the what would it be like became an opportunity for what if, right? What else is out there? And living in Jacksonville my entire life, I won't say my age, for my entire life was all I knew, truly, outside of a few trips and all. Daniel's from New Jersey, so he had seen New Jersey, but he's been in Florida for his entire adult life. So really, that's all we knew. So we had no idea what was out there. We were not unhappy in our house. We were not unhappy in the job. It wasn't that I was unhappy before, but when we made this change to RV life, it absolutely just lit a fire for me. It was just, our entire family, we say it all the time, how amazing this opportunity is and this lifestyle is. And it's just like this hidden gem that not everybody knows about. So it's really fun, like the idea, the lifestyle of it. So we took it. We took our homeschool and we went on the road, and our family has just blossomed in this environment, from going to national parks, state parks, just driving to these tiny little towns that no one's ever heard of, and walking the little town squares, and the way that they celebrate holidays. We had an amazing Christmas last year in this tiny little town in Texas, and they do Christmas right. Their Christmas was so big, and it was just one of those little small moments of this is right. This is perfect. And by no means is RV life perfect, because it's not. We've had our fair share of bumps in the road, so to speak, but you can't dwell on the negative. You can't stay in that moment. You have to just, put that in your pocket and move on, because there's so many highlights and so many incredible moments, and just those ones that you hold so close to your heart, your mama heart. It's just those moments of when you look at your kids and they just have this glow, and those are the moments you hold on to. Stuff happens and you just work through it. And so I feel like that's just kind of how we are now. And even seeing how my kids have transitioned from public school to homeschool to road school, their anxiety levels just down, no stress. They don't argue and bicker anymore. It was as if just bringing them out onto the road just opened up so many more opportunities. They use that energy for learning. They use that energy and that drive for what else is out there. And honestly, my husband and I, that's what we want for their education, is wanting to learn more, is wanting to have that drive, and us not sit down with a pen and paper and teach them all of the things that there are to know to be a third grader, a fifth grader, a ninth grader, because that list it could be unending. But to actually go out and hold the stone, so to speak, or stand in that place, in that solemn place, and feel and just feel it, feel the emotions, understand what the people who stood there before you felt. You can't replace that. And you can't teach that. That is something that you have to watch and be there. And we have seen in every single place that we go, it's like that. Every single place. How can every single place be like that? But it is. It is. I think the number one question that everyone has, I bet you could guess what the question is, but where's your favorite place? Everyone wants to know, where's your favorite place? And it would be impossible to answer that question.
I have the best answer for that.
Oh, tell me your answer.
I have the best answer for that one.
Tell me.
The next one. That's my favorite place. The next one.
I might take that.
Because every time I go somewhere, it's so reminiscent of somewhere else I've been, and I see the connections. It's like you're building a web. You're not just walking up one single path. You're like, there's so much more creation involved in it. So yes, take that. It works every time.
I am borrowing that. I will put your copyright behind it, but I'm borrowing that. That is fantastic. And we get that all the time. I understand what you're saying, because no matter where we go, we'll have this moment of, oh, you remember where we were here? And it just, the connections. And just as you said, there's no straight line. It's just, it's not all like that. You just can't even explain to someone who hasn't experienced it what that could be. The best you can do is illustrate it in your words. And that's all we can do, is to try to share what our lifestyle is like. And it sounds like whenever you saw our social media posts and things like that, that we're expressing kind of our lifestyle and things we're experiencing in a way that someone who hasn't been there could picture it. They could feel like they've been there. And that's really what we want to do. We want to share it with others, and connect with others with, similar connections. So
that's amazing. Like, I love hearing your story, and I love hearing about the positive changes that travel have had on your family. And it's not so much, you guys are obviously doing a very extreme form of travel, right? You've sold your home, you've moved into an RV, you're traveling full time. You're working as a travel nurse. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, I work as a travel nurse.
And a lot of people, they can't even fathom doing all those things. There's a big jump. But I don't know. I want to get your opinion on this. I feel like families can get the same benefits that we see from traveling, like in a more extensive way, that they can get the same benefits in these small snippets of trips in their area. That it's not so much about, you don't have to take an extreme viewpoint on travel. Like your family has taken some big steps. You can stay at your home, work your normal job, go to a regular school, and still get the same benefits of stepping outside of your comfort zone and meeting new places and people.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And we did baby steps before we left, not in an RV. We sold the house and bought the RV, never staying in an RV before. Again, I don't know what we were thinking, but glad it worked out. But we did that, kind of staying close to home within a couple of hours of your home base, and just doing a loop or road trip. Not even 6 months before we sold the house, we did a loop around Georgia. We called it our Georgia road trip. And we stayed in 6 different towns and saw all these different beautiful waterfalls and hiking. We saw family friends along the way. And it was a really special moment. It was less than a week, but it was such a great experience, and taking out new opportunities to learn something or see something or go somewhere that you've never been. And we made it an educational trip. Of course we did, because what other homeschool mom doesn't do that? Nothing can be fun without counting it as homeschool. But going and doing a hike is homeschool. Going to a historical site is homeschool. So it's still fun. It's going somewhere new. And to your question before about where's the next best place, it's the next place. Anywhere you haven't been, that's where you want to go. So even if it's close by, within an hour or so of your hometown, then in your hometown, I had no idea our hometown had a historical tour of your town. I had no idea. And then just to find it's right here. So it's really fun to do that.
Yes, absolutely. to me, the greatest joys I have from being in on this side of the business of things of travel is just hearing the stories from people on how adding up travel in has just brought them to get closer together as a family, or open their kids' eyes up to maybe a possible career, or just getting to meet other people and having a different kind of open-mindedness that you can't get watching a TV, or you can't get watching a YouTube video. I mean, like you said, there's something about holding the rock in your own hands that changes the meaning of that rock. You know, you can know all the words, all the vocabulary, all the definitions, but it doesn't compare to just the knowledge of this is what the outside feels like.
Even the small things become big things. We laugh all the time that maybe we don't make the best choices as a family of where to go. Sometimes we get lucky, but we ended up in Arizona for the summer, and maybe that's not the best place to be in an RV, but and it was monsoon season on top of that.
Wow.
So do you know, it was the best time. It was the best time because there was less people, and we got to do all these special things as a family, go on little hikes and things like that together, that it was not crowded. It was just our family on a trail, and we could stop and look down at bugs or whatever that we found, and we didn't feel like we were holding somebody else up, and it was just us. And one of our daughters actually was really brave and jumped off a giant rock into a pond. My mama heart. But it was a moment of, oh, she just impressed me so much. And I did not know she was that brave. But having that and just holding her in those moments after of, oh, I'm so proud of you. That was maybe not something I can always do, but we always talk about, take the leap. Even if you're afraid, or even if you're not sure what's going to happen, check your calculated risks, but take the leap. And I think she's really learning that. And she was 9. She had freshly turned 9. She was just 9 and had already taken the leap. And it was so special to see her do that. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So I'm sure you get this question too when you talk about homeschooling your kids, and it's pretty acceptable to homeschool them through elementary school, right? And then as they get older, people start wanting to know, what about high school? What about middle school? What are you going to do? Have y'all made any plans?
We have no intention of putting our kids back in the public school system as long as we can help it. Life happens and you roll with the punches, but we have talked about it with them. We have talked about it, my husband and I, with ourselves. We just feel like they are gaining so much. And in the school systems, typically it is a teacher leading the students. It is someone standing in the front and telling the information, and the student absorbing the information and then regurgitating it onto an exam of some sort. But in homeschool, I'm not teaching them all of the time. I'm teaching them how to learn. And therefore, as they progress and they get older, they're able to teach themselves. And I'll give you an example. Right now, our girls are currently working on their idea, an iPad virtual presentation. This was their idea. And I gave them a topic. I said, well, President's Day is coming up. Let's learn about the presidents. And they said, okay. They are learning about what president had which pet, which president did what during their term, what their accomplishments were. They're putting this entire presentation together and they're going to give it to us. They're 9 and 11. So I can only imagine what they're going to do here in the next 5 years, 10 years of what their education is going to look like. But the important thing is they're in charge of it. They get to decide what's important to them and really go full force, wholehearted into that education. And I don't know about you, but when I was in school, anything that was uninterested to me, I checked out. I heard it, but I didn't listen. And I think we can all relate to that. So if you're teaching someone something, no matter their age, if they're not interested, they're not going to remember it. They don't care to remember. It's being forced to remember. So in our homeschool, we are teaching them how to learn so that they are engaged and interested in having the tools to learn. So as they get older, as things get more difficult or complicated in what they should be learning, they will be prepared and have the tools to be successful with that.
That is amazing. And when I hear you talk, what I hear from you is that you've learned your children well enough to know that homeschooling is that right choice, you know. And I tell families all the time who might ask, because we're a homeschool family, they might ask, you know, like, well, you know, you can tell maybe they're a little nervous about, you know, am I like a only homeschooler, or, you know, like, do I accept? I firmly believe every parent knows what that best decision is for their kid. And there are kids that are thriving in public school, thriving in private school, and thriving in homeschool. So, but we've had the similar experience where our children have really blossomed under this umbrella of curiosity, if I can step out that far and say that, and just be, you know, they're natural students, right? They take initiative. They are interested in things. And my two kids are best friends. So I'm sure you're seeing that with your daughters as well.
They are little best friends. We were just talking about that probably 3 days ago with my oldest daughter. We were talking about at home versus now, and how much more they're getting along than before. They've always got along really well, but something has just changed where they are best friends. They do everything together. They prefer to sleep in the same small bunk together a lot of nights than to have their own beds, just to be able to have sister time. And they'll go off to the sides. Oh, it's a sister secret. It's a sister secret. And they'll go off giggling. And that giggle is probably my favorite sound in the entire world.
Priceless. Priceless,
yes,
isn't it?
It is priceless. It absolutely is.
So for you guys moving into a camper, our fifth wheel, the transition to living in an RV, how much of a minimalist were you already?
The opposite of minimalist, self-proclaimed hoarder, not like you would see on a TV show. I wasn't that bad. But I have always held on to sentimental things. I'm the, what if we need it? What if we might could use that? I held on to it. I was really bad about that. And so even living in 1,000 square feet, I found ways, and the house had no closets. But I found ways to creatively store a lot of sentimental things. Obviously with homeschool, and I'm a crafter at heart, so I had all of the craft supplies, all of them. So I went from that to coming into 375 square feet of not being able to do that, and really creatively minimizing what we had, what we needed, and what we could use. And so we err on the side of light. So you can't have a lot of weight in an RV. It's not just space and are there enough cabinets, but in an RV, you have to be really careful with weight. So we also couldn't bring a lot of the things because of that. So using a lot of our arts and crafts that don't weigh a lot, cotton balls are a great solution. And we're very resourceful. So we just did an entire Christmas Around the World unit study, which was really fun. And we used toilet paper rolls for almost all of the crafts, because you use it and you're going to throw it away anyway. Let's use it for the craft and move on. So we've had to be really creative with things we could bring, not only with homeschool, with everything you can think of in your house. Your bath towels. A bath towel in a house is like this really nice, big, fluffy, heavy, makes you feel warm and cozy when you get out of the shower. But in an RV, you have to be a little more resourceful. So we use a lightweight Turkish towel that weighs almost nothing, and it doesn't feel warm and cozy when you get out of the shower, but at least it does the job and it's lightweight. So I could give you 100 different examples, but you no longer have a full kitchen of appliances. You pick your favorite and you stick with it. You have your one favorite pan and you use it to all its might. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that we had to do to be creative, to be able to still function as a full-time RV family. There is no, well, we'll just unpack the weekend and pick up some more next weekend. This is it. This is what we have. So we have to be really careful with what we have. But I feel like we've done a good job of making our home, because our RV is our home, feel like a home. and we have everything we need. It may not be everything we want, but there's opportunities out there for always exchanging. If we lose the need or the joy of an item that we have, we can always exchange it for something different.
Yeah. Speaking of home, this wall behind you is absolutely gorgeous. So I don't have a beautiful wall in our RV like this. What is there a story here?
There is a story. This wallpaper was my number one selling point of buying this RV. I fell in love with the color, the boldness. It's so outside of my comfort zone, to be honest. I was the white walls, very plain Jane. I didn't want any sort of excitement before in my home. I saw this RV and I lit up. This was so exciting to see the bold colors here. The previous owner actually did all of the wallpaper in our RV, and that was it. I fell in love. I said, that's the one. That's the RV that I need, not want, need. It feels like a home, and that was so important to me.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I'm inspired by it. I think I'm going to have to look into something like that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I did notice on your social media for 2022, you did an amazing post about the places that y'all visited. And it was not a lovely video that kind of showed your trek around the United States. And could you want to share anything about those destinations that you just found inspiring?
Sure, absolutely. So we've traveled 50,000 miles at this point in our almost 2 years as a full-time RV family. We've traveled 50,000 miles. We've been to 49 national park sites, 24 of which were national parks, and then an additional 36 state parks. And each one is so individualized. Anytime you can get to a state park or a national park site, you're just going to be overwhelmed with just so much newness. Everyone is designated for something completely different. We all have one that kind of holds onto our heart a little bit. They're really special. I'm constantly asking our kids, which one is your favorite? Which one is your favorite? They haven't wavered. They keep the same favorites, but it's really funny on their list. Okay, this one's the new number 3, and this one's the new number 4, and this is the new number 15. Like, how do you keep track of all that? But I think the 2 that they've chosen for their favorites are my favorite because they're their favorites. Our youngest daughter loves White Sands National Park. She got to ride on a slide down a 60-foot sand dune, and it was so fun. The little squeals of just excitement of seeing them do that. Not gonna lie, I was one of the squealers because I went down that hill, hands up. Oh, it was so fun. I had so much fun doing that. I think we all did.
I love it.
My oldest daughter, her favorite was Yosemite National Park. She says it was because of the giant rocks. And we were there, and in April, there was still snow on the ground. And it was just really magical. It was gorgeous. We got to see all of the waterfalls. But what it's really funny is that she chose Yosemite as her favorite and says it all the time. And honestly, we did a hike there that we were all so miserable because it was so cold. But maybe that's why it's our favorite, because we were miserable together, and it just made it even more that fun. And we accomplished it. We finished it. And I think that's really important, that we can all kind of see even when it's really hard and it's really tough and it's really terrible sometimes, that you do it together and you finish it. And that feeling of finishing it is really, it's awe-inspiring to see our children having such a big idea and a big heart and being able to understand that at such a young age.
Yes. 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 I love that. So if you were going to give another mom advice, like if you were just sitting down over coffee, what advice would you give a mom who came to you and said, like, how did you start planning this? How did you make the decisions on where to go and what to do that were overwhelmed in the travel planning process? What would you say to them?
I think any mom who is trying to do a travel plan, of 50,000 miles and trying to put it all on paper, get a lot of paper and get ready to cross out stuff, because what you see on, the Instagram version isn't always reality. And some of the times what you see as something that is just going to be that little sidebar that's really not going to mean much, it's actually going to be a really big thing. And it's going to be an overwhelming wow kind of moment. And it doesn't have to be a giant national park to do that. But really, when you're sitting down to make a plan, if you want to take your family on the road, is to get the input of your family. It's not my plan. It's not just me writing the plan. We're all doing it together. And so I think it's important to have family feedback on everything. So our very first thing that we did when we were planning to do this, we had the idea to go RVing at the end of January, and our daughter's birthdays are in July, and then it would be the following March that we would be on the trek. So we said, where do you want to be for your birthdays? Where do you want to be? Anywhere. Y'all pick the destination. So our youngest daughter chose the Badlands, and our oldest daughter chose Sedona. Our oldest daughter loves Native American history and culture, and our youngest daughter loves dinosaurs and fossils. So as it turns out, we get to the Badlands for her birthday. There are no dinosaurs in the Badlands. There are none. It is, they were mammals, but there were no dinosaurs. So the gentleman at the visitor center said, how many dinosaurs do you see in this giant array of fossils? And it was a joke, because there were no dinosaurs. They were all mammal fossils. And then our daughter, who loves Native American history, we went to Sedona, and she thought we were going to be seeing the saguaro cactus, and we were going to get to hear all of the history of the cactus. And as it turns out, saguaros aren't in Sedona, they're in Tucson. So our daughters, who chose the locations of where they wanted to be, as it turns out, was not anything what they wanted it to be. But we didn't get to experience both. We did get to see it. And again, it was one of those moments of, this isn't what we thought it would be, but it's kind of even better. It was really great. And we were all great towns, and we learned something everywhere. And it was a really good, again, lesson for them that, life isn't always what you see in pictures, and it's not always what you expect it to be. But sometimes doing a little research might help. And you might be surprised, though, because sometimes not knowing what's in the box until you open it and getting the surprise is so much more fun. So, they chose these destinations knowing where they were going to go for their birthdays. They opened the box and it's nothing like it was supposed to be. But it was still so much fun. I think that's important as a mom making the trip and the plan. Include your family, be ready for all of the surprises. And sometimes it's the small things that actually turn out to be the most special.
Oh, I love it so much. And to just kind of wrap today up, did have this post about 2023 is the year of you. And I loved that video, and I watched you, and I actually teared up when the part of the video, and I'm about to cry now. Just give me a minute. When you were holding your daughter's hand, and you were walking down that path, and I thought, is there possibly anything more symbolic of being a mom than that moment right there, of that, your daughter is looking ahead, and that she's excited, and that you're just holding her hand, and you're feeling the energy of her in that moment. And there's your feet walking forward, there's her feet walking forward. And it's such a beautiful moment. She may never remember that moment, but like as a mom, I remember those times of like holding my son's hand the first time he was climbing like a sand dune. And when I was walking with my daughter, she was on the beach for the first time. Those are like core memories for me. And I thought it was such a beautiful moment in the video about 2023 is a year of you. And you quickly focused on being that that nurturer, that lover, that person that is just, you become a vessel for your family. And it was just a beautiful moment. So I want to know about that video. I want you to share with us, like when you put that together, I can feel your emotion through that video. I want to know what you were thinking when you created that.
You made me a little. Thank you for appreciating what I was sharing. It's sharing your heart to the universe sometimes is hard to do, to put everything out there. And when I share our videos, a lot of it, I would say most of it, is the perspective of me behind the camera and my family doing things or experiencing things of which I'm with them, but I'm behind the camera. And they joke with me all the time, Mom, put your phone down. You should experience it too. But what they don't know is that my joy of experiences is through the camera, because I get to relive those moments of holding her hand, walking down that trail in Texas on a mountain covered in cactus. That was a moment that I'll never forget, not because I won't forget it, but it's captured in a moment and I can see it. And now I've shared it where other people can feel that emotion of what that's like. And that video is literally every clip of me in front of the camera in our 1.5 years of travels prior to me making it. So I'm not in front of the camera very often. I'm most often behind the camera. So when I shared that, it was really, that's all of me. That's all I've shared. And I am going to make it a goal to be in front of the camera more, and not just taking the videos and the pictures, but I want to be as part of the experience as well. It's important to me that I'm part of that. But whenever I take the videos and the pictures, another part of it is reliving the experience. We have a digital picture frame that re-shows the photos that we've taken, and we just catch ourselves every single day. Oh, I remember that. But I think for the video, it's just more of a being brave, getting outside of my comfort zone and getting in front of the camera more. So hopefully.
Well, you have some other big things that are kind of happening on the business side for you too. I mean, I'm sure 2 years ago when you said, hey, honey, let's buy an RV and travel around the world, you wouldn't have stepped in there and said, and I think it's time for me to write a best-selling book.
Never in my wildest dreams 2 years ago did I think any of this was going to happen. It has been an unbelievable experience so far. So yes, we have our social medias that we share our things on. And now we've written a best-selling book. Our 2 daughters actually had a part of that. They got to write in the book as well. So they are officially best-selling authors as well. So that's really fun. Who gets to say that? I'm so excited. We've published the book and it is available, and other people can read about it and hear more about our stories. And it's a really exciting time.
So tell me about too. I love your social media channels, and you're on a lot of the biggies. I know Facebook, Instagram, even a little on TikTok. But you've got a website that you're developing currently, right?
Yes, it's in development right now. I'm actually starting a blog. I'm going to tell all about homeschooling and give tips and tricks and some of the things that we use and how it can help others. We road school, so a lot of our learning and education is done on the road, but we do a lot of really fun activities at home, which can be transposed into any home. It doesn't have to be an RV. So I'm hoping to share more information about homeschooling in general, and then also about travel and some opportunities to learn both in your neighborhood and across the country. So whatever that looks like.
To continue following Tricia and her family, look for Life's Next Leap on your favorite social media channel. Also, you can check out their website, UNschool Travel Mom, where they give lots of tips and tricks on homeschooling and road schooling and RV travel in general. As a special bonus today, we're going to give away a copy of Tricia's book, Worldschoolers. All you need to do to enter the giveaway is to leave a review of this podcast and then share a screenshot with us on one of our social media channels, either Facebook or Instagram. We look forward to seeing your entries. See you next week on the Bold Exploration Podcast.